What it used to be is a two-story brick building that I had a 7,000 square foot recording studio in with another studio, Glenn Lorbecki from Lorbecki Sound. We did a lot of different projects, a lot of Seattle stuff at the time, Anna Nancy Wilson, Eve 6, the Built to Spill, had a lot of fun. I don't recognize this area at all. I used to live for a while up on Capitol Hill and then over in Green Lake, and nothing looks the same to me now. It's so crazy. But I sure think that thing looks cool. Well, I was 24 when I moved down here in the studio at this time. Richard Reel was actually the former landlord, and I got to know him. I was here for 10 years. He and I had a tumultuous relationship in the beginning with some other tenants that we had. Over a course of a couple years, we got rid of them, and I was the sole tenant until Glenn Lorbecki moved in with me. And it was a great time during that time. I loved coming down here. I loved the music industry. I loved what we were doing, who we were working with. It's a fond memory, and it was also a bit of a stressful life during the time because it was hard to make money in a recording studio at that time. I thought I did better than most, but I hung in there for about 10 years, and then I decided to move on, and now I have a job that actually I have retirement and can afford a house and those type of things. So, but this definitely brings back fond memories. I'll always think of this, and my kids always want to hear stories from this time of my life. They were all born during this time. None of them really remember it because they were pretty young, but so when I moved in here, like I said, there was a few different tenants, and we were all trying to make something work, but we all had some different visions. When I moved in here, it was actually called Foss Productions, and it was my studio that I moved from Bellevue to here. And when I moved in here and we got different people trying to do the same thing, we actually changed it to Big Music. And during this time, we were trying to get a conglomerate of people with the same goal. It really didn't work out, and a lot of those people went their separate ways, and I stayed in this, calling it Stepping Stone. And the whole idea, Stepping Stone Recording, was actually helping artists actually move their game up and get into the scene a little bit better by us giving them better recordings, better productions. Also, we did a lot of producing, so we might help write some of the songs, and not necessarily write the songs, but produce them so they sound better and they work better flow. I really enjoyed that part of the production. In the beginning, I was doing almost all the recording myself. And then as the studio got bigger, we got better mixing consoles and bigger equipment that was more state-of-the-art. I started to get a lot more different producers coming in and using the studio. We were able to charge more during that time, but it also led to them doing more of the recording, and I was more just the owner. That's how I met Don Gilmore during that time, and he ended up doing the Eve 6 stuff here, and he went on to do Lincoln Park and all kinds of stuff. But we had some pretty fantastic producers coming through at the time that were doing some really good work, and for me, it was really nice working with a lot of those guys, and I would listen to their input on what kind of gear they wanted to see in the studio. I would take that into account and figure out what we could afford and what we couldn't, and get what I could, and just try and keep our clientele happy so that they would continue to come and work there. When I first started Stepping Stone, we didn't necessarily have the big name. I was doing a lot of local Seattle stuff at the time, but I bought a 56 channel console, a Trident mixing console that Roger Waters from Pink Floyd owned. So when I got that console, we got it installed, my clientele level went up because I had more to offer them. And we sold that after a couple years, and I bought an SSL, which at the time SSL was the console to have for mixing projects. And so that's when I started getting into the real projects that garnered us a very good clientele list. So it really came down to having the right gear that the clients wanted at the time, and then having a very comfortable atmosphere that they could come and enjoy. And I was never about dropping names or sitting in on them, hey, I want to meet them and stuff. That's not what it's about. It's about come and enjoy the studio, and if you want to come and talk to me, come and talk to me. But anytime you get involved and kind of insert yourself on their creative process can usually be a negative. So you want to let them, they walk in, they own the place. And I think that's why we did so well, is because I understood that, and I really am about keeping the place up. A lot of maintenance, and a lot of studios just let their stuff go, and a lot of stuff doesn't work. That could be a big issue. Even here, there was times when something would break. It would be very stressful because I would have to get it up and running so that they could continue to work. When I walked around the corner and looked down this street, I didn't recognize anything. To me, if I didn't know the address, which was 228 Dexter Avenue, was where the studio was at, I wouldn't even think I was in the same city. Nothing looks the same. So to me, this is all just I'm kind of awestruck a little bit. This is a bizarre feeling. I don't even know how to describe it really, because I spent so much time down here. It was like 12 to 18 hour days, and when projects would come in, they might book 60 days in a row. We had no days off. There was no weekends. I spent 10 years of my life in this building, and it was completely different. Every building around here was like a 2-story building, and I could see for a long ways. And we'd sit up there, come out, sit on the top of the roof, and look at the Space Needle, watch the fireworks. We could see all the water out there. It was amazing, but it is so different now. I just don't even recognize it. I mean, it had a little bit of an industrial feel. King 5 was on this corner right here, but there just wasn't a lot going on. This was a very quiet street. You could come here and park, and nobody was walking up and down. There was very few cars. So I think once you got here, it felt like a little oasis, especially going in, because the building was so big that clients could kind of spread out, do what they want to do. But you were close enough to go get all different kinds of food, go out and take a break and walk downtown. It had a really cool vibe to it. Also, Seattle was in a different state at the time. We were still really in the grunge stage of music scene here, and people were just way more laid back. It was just a time where, for me, I had played in the scene for a long time as a guitar player, and I still like to go out to all the different clubs. I don't think I recognize a club around here except for maybe the Crocodile. It's moved. Okay, see? Nothing's the same. It's crazy to me. I don't know, just really different.